Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, I'm Nick from Zanet. And quick context before we dive in, today is a very exciting day for us. I mean, it's a public launch of something, we have been quietly building for last couple of months. And we are going to spend next 45 minutes showing you exactly what is Zenit Pulse, how it works, and why we think it changes the accounting firm with new clients. Right. So, quick introduction about ourselves. So, I'm Nick, and I've been a co-founder at Zenit from last 6 years. And our mission at Zenit is, to help accounting firm, you know, with getting their accounting workflow better and automated review and close. So, as we have been working with a lot of accountants and bookkeepers, Janet Pulse is also, one of the product born out of our own journey and, talking to our existing customers about, other problems they have been facing at their farm, right? Hardik, would you like to
Yep,
introduce yourself?
absolutely. Hey everyone, I'm Hardik. I already see a lot of familiar names. So, hello everyone. And yeah, along with Nick, we've been building Zenet for last 6 years, and it's obviously been a really exciting journey. And yeah, a lot more to come. And yeah, we're super excited about today's webinar. So,
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Hardik. So, next 45 minutes, we are going to start with the problem, why we built Pearls and what is it exactly it is going to solve. And then we actually go into, product itself, where we'll do the live demo. We'll actually connect to a real QuickBooks file, run a Pulse, and walk through the report, diagnostic report, produced automatically from this software, right? After that, we'll also talk about what's next, pricing, how you can get the, founding access, the beta launch of our product, and we'll also share where the roadmap goes. And then we'll leave plenty of room for live Q&A at the end, right? So before, three things we would like to get into, before we get it. So we are going to run a few polls during the session. So it won't take much, just a 10 seconds. So we would really appreciate an honest answer because, that will help us define and also get feedback about, what we have built and also help us to, get few ideas how we can navigate this product further. And second, if you have any questions during the session, drop your questions in the chat anytime. Don't wait for the Q&A. The best question usually come up in the moment and we'll work them as we go. Third, for those of you wondering, yes, you will get the replay tomorrow and today itself. And yes, you will also get the sign up link after this webinar and sample report, right? Okay, all right. So let's start, how let's start with the, where the industry is today. So if you ideally see, most accounting firms, I mean, the most still same, sell the way they did in 1995. So here it what it looks like. Prospects land on your calendar, you hop on a 30 seconds discovery call. Prospect says that their books are mostly fine, just a little behind. And you say that, hey, let me have a look and get back to you. So you spend 3 hours digging through QuickBooks, you write up a proposal and you sell it, you send it, and then you wait. So what happens that, half of the time, prospect goes to you, other time, you negotiate the code down because client don't see the mess the way you do. And the firm that win, offer the cheaper ones or often the louder ones, always never the best ones. And sometimes, it's very difficult to justify the price as well because client isn't able to see what level of problems or what level of mess is already involved in the books. So if you're in the room, you have lived this. We hear it from, already a lot of our existing customers every single week. Now, before we go any further, I want to, actually uh, want to hear from, all of you. So we are going to have the first poll. So we would like to hear from you that, on an average, how many hours does your team currently spend digging through prospects before a proposal goes out? So, Hardik, can we have the poll, please, on the
Yeah,
screen?
I just initiated a poll. So just to clarify these questions,
Yeah.
basically for any given prospect, all we try to find out is how much time that you guys are spending for diagnosing that QuickBooks file. All right, so I'm gonna close the poll now. So just give me a second, real quick. All right, thank you very much, whoever has participated in the poll. It was really helpful. All right, Nick, you can carry on.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's understand, what are the current challenges the firm owners are facing around the proposal. So number one, what happens that, right now, lot of time, you have to spend lot of time, digging into the books, finding where the book stands, so it requires, going into books, looking at every single detail, right? And most of the time, you are only able to get the surface level information, like, what's the reconciliation status, and you don't get enough time, you know, going into a detailed, get a detailed summary of, how the books look like. And based on, what information, whatever information you are able to identify, you create code. And what happens that, most of the time you miss out on the details. You don't know what level of, mess is already involved. And later on, sometimes what happens that once you have coded, you get to know there was probably, a lot of work involved in catch up or cleanup, or maybe, the quantum you have identified is not accurate. So either, you aren't able to justify your fees with the right details and information. So in this case, there is right now lot of subjectivity in laws, and there is no evidence involved where you are able to justify your fees with your clients. Second, you diagnose without a report. You hope that, you know, you send the code, and uh, client will, just based on the information you have said, they will agree to the price. But there is no summary involved. There is no detailed, diagnostic involved. And even if you have to, prepare the diagnostic, it would require a lot of your time. So idea over here is one, the firm who are already preparing the diagnostic, we would like to, save significant time preparing the diagnostic report automatically. And second, will also help firm create a very professional report which they can actually walk through their client and justify their fees. And number two, there are firms who are already not following this process, which means, which they are already not producing any diagnostic report to create the proposal. So based on, both of these challenges, this solution is applicable for both the firms who are already preparing the diagnostic report, and then second, who aren't, preparing the diagnostic report as well. So with that, you know, so idea is stop pitching, start diagnosing, which means, start getting those, that level of details, start engaging with the client with the right information which help you to win the engagement, will help you to justify your quote as well. So with that, I'm very excited to launch today Pulse by Zenet, the 5-minute diagnostic that helps you turn any prospect's book into a white label branded report you can close on. So, and I'm very happy to announce it's an industry first. This is very first time, where you are able to now automate the entire diagnostic report. So with this, I would like to hand over, from here to Hardik. So Hardik, can you take it over from here and help us, show a real demo of how the product looks like in real?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Nick. I think it was a certainly a great context. So now I'm gonna share my screen and I will then walk you guys through how exactly this platform works. And I know that before a few years, I was personally preparing this kind of report myself, and I used to spend hours. And I also got to hear from many of our customers that this is also a very painful process. And this is a problem we've been trying to solve for a while. And finally, it's out now. So I'm now going to share my screen and then walk you through. So, Nick, if you can confirm also, like if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see Hardik.
Perfect. So, guys, this is also at very early stage. We have already given like a playground to some of our selected customers. They opted for in it. So we are still developing it, but it's ready to showcase. So this is a first page where obviously I'm not gonna go through sign up and log in because you guys know how to do that. So I'm just gonna straight to the point. So the very first thing is straightforward, simply add the clients and your clients will be connected. When you add the client, it will then ask you what period, like it will ask you to select the from and to date. Basically, you are telling Zenit Pulse as to what period that you would like to review. Once you are inside the client, this is what it looks like. Okay. So now let me first go through the whole report and then I'll explain you what are those all of this each of these pages work. So this is the cover page. This is totally customizable. I'll speak more on that afterwards. Cover page, then you have a brief report overview. Then you have a summary that gives you the health score for your prospects QuickBooks file. Okay. And by the way, it's like right now, it can only work with QuickBooks. In the future, we might add zero every as we get request on that. So this is summary page that just gives a summary of like what is good, what is not good in the books. Then comes the data completeness. And this is where like you get to see, let me actually show you here. This is where you get to see how many bank accounts are there, how many are reconciled, not reconciled, the bank feed is there, how many transactions are pending in the bank feed. All that information will show up in the data completeness. Then review finding. This is where Zenit Pulse has listed down all of the different issues from the QuickBooks file, right? We'll go through them in the detail. And then the last page is the next steps. This is what the next step, and this is customizable, right? Now, the entire report would be generated just by simply connecting to the QuickBooks file. Okay. And it's ready to print. Like when you click on client preview, you should be able to simply share with your client. You can download the PDF file. Everything can be done just within minutes. All right. So now let me go through each of these points one by one and then exactly show you what sort of customization you can do it here. So let's start with the cover page. So cover page is obviously it's going to be a firm wide page. So any pages where you see this label firm, that indicates that whatever changes that you make will apply to all of the clients of your firm, right? So this is basically at the firm level. Here you can choose the image. We have predefined images, but then in case if you would like to have some different cover page, you can upload your own. This is like freely. In case if you would like to place things here and there, you can freely move it. Um, Now here you can actually upload the logo, right? So for each client, you would be able to upload the logo. For firm, it's just one-time thing. Then you should be just fine. In fact, one thing I would also like to cover is that see, you can also rename. You don't have to call it diagnostic review, but let's just say if you wanted to call it health check report or whatever, like you can also customize what you want to call this report, right? So we have a setting for that as well, right? So the entire cover page is very, very flexible. In fact, there's a footer as well. When you click on edit footer, you can change the color and all of those customizations you can even do with the footer as well. All right, so that's that. Now let's just talk about this report overview. This is our predefined text. Basically, it just explains what this report is all about. But again, in case if you would like to change anything here, you would be able to do that as well. Okay, so that's that. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is that while you make change, there are some tags like add client name. What this does is that whenever the actual report is generated, it would be replaced by the client name itself, correct? So that's something that you want to be careful. Like in case if you are changing any text, then just make sure that you use this tag. All right, so nothing fancy in here. Let's just talk about this summary, right? Now this summary. So now think from the prospect perspective, even before they get into every single finding and all of the details, this page is very, very important for them. This just tells them where their books stand. We calculate the book's health score based on different review findings, based on their bank credit card reconciliation in, and we represent like, okay, how does that health score looks like? Okay. And then it's a pretty high level glance where they can see what is this period, how many invoices are basically like summary of all the review findings on just one page, right? So this is very, very important page. All right. Then let me show you this data completeness where we are displaying this bank and credit card reconciliation information. Now, here, there's also a lot of flexi customization that you can do. So just in case if there are any such accounts that you do not want to see it here, then you can also like hide it, which means that you see that it's grayed out right now. And when you are actually able to print the like when you actually print the report on PDF file, those accounts would not show up, right? So that's that. Now another thing that is actually very, very important here is that see QuickBooks, when you connect the QuickBooks client, we actually use QuickBooks API. Now, QuickBooks API would not give us information for this last reconciliation, this pending bank feed, and whether the bank feed is actually broken or not. For that, we have a browser extension here. You'll have to install it once. And once you install the browser extension, basically what happens is that behind the scene, you just have to log into that QuickBooks once, and it would grab that information from those respective pages, and then it would show it up here, right? So it just like you just have to make sure that you install that browser extension once and just log into that client, and it will automatically pull all this information here, right? So at this point, data completeness show you the reconciliation status, the how many transactions are pending, and then the status of the bank feed, right? So that's that. Now we have this page that is the review finding. This is like a very, very important page. This is where Zenet actually goes through the entire QuickBooks file. It's going to start listing all these different issues and along with the backup. Now, when I say backup, let me show you what I mean by that. So, okay, with each of the review points, you see the count, right? So in case if you would like to see that, like what is that count made up of, simply click on it and it will show you the transactions for that, right? So like example, unclear transactions, you see there are 397 transactions. You click on it and you can see all these bank accounts, credit cards, and their transactions, right? So everything that you see the count, you have the details for each of the review point, all right? Now there are 20 such review points that we have introduced so far. We have already started getting some requests from some of you who have already been our alpha customers, alpha, yeah, users. So we are actively working on that. This list can be improved based on your suggestions. Okay, there's a lot of customization here that you can do. I'll show you some of that. So let's just say, for example, there are transactions missing pay, and you see there are 63 transactions here, right? When you click on it, you notice that there are some accounts that should not, you don't want to flag them here, right? So you can actually exclude those accounts as well. So those account transactions would not show up, like uncategorized transaction, you don't want to see it. And that way it would actually change the count as well. The reason why you may want to do this sort of customization is because when you publish this report to the client, your client will accordingly see the details, right? Example, if you think that this account should not belong here and you don't want to flag this particular account to your prospect or client, those changes, those customization, you can actually do it from here, right? So for different, depending on what the review point is about, you would see those customization. Okay, so that's basically that's that. Now with each of this review point, we display the the status, like whether it has passed. Passed means it's all good, there is no problem with that. And the attention means there is something in there and someone needs to look into that. Okay. So it's like the unapplied payments, there are two of them, it requires attention. And basically you can see what are those unapplied payments here. Okay. Each of these review points have been explained when you put your mouse on this hover. Like there's an info icon here. When you put your mouse on that, it will explain what that review point is all about. Okay, so that's that. Now, along with this review point, in case if you would like to add some notes, specific notes that you would like to highlight. Basically, if you type any note here, that would eventually show up on the report that you would share with your client, right? So just in case, if anything in specific that you would like to highlight on any of the review point, just simply write that note. Okay, so that is also possible here. Now, another thing is that say there are some review point, let's just say this particular client is on cash basis and there is no accounts payable required as such. In fact, you can turn off those review points. Just simply click on this eye icon. What this would do is that those review points that base all of those review points would then not show up when you actually print the report for your client, right? So you can also choose that. So basically, you see the firm label is not here, and that's because whatever changes that you make here will only apply to this particular client. Okay. So that is the customization that you can do. And here at the top, there's a summary, right? Like, okay, how many review points have been passed? How many review points like require attention? Okay, so that's that. Now, we also recently introduced a feature, like these are system default statuses, the review finding statuses, right? But someone like our existing user who was helping us to evaluate this whole platform, given us a suggestion, like at times, even though the system says attention, but for whatever reason, they wanted to override it and they wanted to change the status. So you could also do that. When you click here on attention, you would be able to say, okay, this is marked as passed, right? It would also show you like this one is edited, and it will also show you the log of which is the user and at what date and what time this status was overridden, right? So that information will also show up. Okay, so that's that. We do have other customization also for the review finding page, which I'll kind of cover it in a few minutes. But this is all this customization that I was just showing it to you right now is available at the client only. Like whatever changes that I was just showing you, it would only apply to this demo company. Okay, so that's that. And then at the top, we have a sync button. So it's pretty straightforward. Like when you click on sync, it would then pull the latest data from your QuickBooks file. All right, so that's a review finding page. And then the last step is the next steps, right? This is also a firm-wide page where like whatever your default standard steps are, you should be able to just mention it here. Again, there are default steps that we give it, but in case if you would like to change something, simply click on this edit icon. You should be able to change it. In case if you would like to add more steps, then you can also do that, like add more step as well. All right. So this is fundamentally the report that Zenet Pulse can create in just minutes. Okay. So that's that. Now let's just understand what exactly it looks like on client's end. Okay. So here you see the right now, whatever you are saying is an accountant view. Okay. And then when you click on client preview, this is what it looks like. Okay. I mean, on the client preview side, obviously they would not be able to see any of those menu and things like that. For them, it's all read only. They would not be able to make any of the change, right? With client, you would be able to share this report in two ways. One, you would be able to share them with the URL, and it would just open that in their browser. And if it is open through web browser, which means that it would also allow them to click on those counts, and then they can also look at what issues are you talking about, right? In fact, you know what? Like, let me actually show you one thing. Okay. On accountant side, we don't see those text every time. Like you see this, there's a brief explanation, which is not here. In accountant side, it's there on hover because you don't want to see those little explanation for every client all the time. However, for the from the prospect or client perspective, we have this brief description that explains what exactly that review point is all about. So if you have mentioned stuck in undeposited funds, your client may not have any clue what is undeposited fund means, right? So you could actually make a quick note right below that review point, right? And in case if they would like to see details for any of the review points, they could click on any count and they would be able to see the details, right? So this is like a read only view for your client. And yeah, they should be able to view it on the web browser. The another way to share the report is you can actually download the PDF, right? And then you can share with the client. Let me actually quickly open the report version. And this is what the PDF version looks like, right? It's the same thing, but this is what the PDF version looks like. Okay. Now, one thing, guys, as we print the PDF report, right? All of those counts, this count, I mean, obviously, those are not clickable, correct? So to support that, we also have a way where you should be able to export all of your transactions, all of the review finding in Excel. So when you click on here, export review finding, what exactly it does is that it would actually go through, it might take some time. So let me show you. Okay, here you go. So there's summary where you can see all the review points. It will also give you the status of that, and you have the details for every single review point, right? This is helpful in case if you do not like to share a link to your client. Instead, you prefer to send them a PDF file, but then you also want to send them a proof. Like, okay, here is what I'm talking about, right? So you can also attach this Excel file along with the PDF file, and you can share with your prospect as well. All right. So that is also very much possible here. Now, this is the report period. So whenever you add the client for the very first time, it would ask you for that report period. And in case if you would like to then change that report period afterwards, simply click on this edit icon and you should be able to change that report period from here. All right. So that's that. Now, let me talk about the form settings because there are also some form settings that will also change the way how this report looks. Okay, so let me show you that. Okay, so first of all, the report name itself. So here, in case if you wanted to call it health check report, you could do that. You can actually save it that way. Whatever you want to call this report, that will be changed in your report. So that's that. Firm name, in case if you would like to kind of change it, like whatever, in case if you want to customize it, like if you have uh, like just say the long name, but if you want to use some short abbreviation, you can actually do that here, right? Then this is something about some of the configuration. So we have various review points where we have fixed asset purchases threshold. So basically, it's gonna ask you what do you consider as your threshold when it comes to the fixed assets, right? So those are some of the things. Then we have also a review point that finds the negative balance accounts. Basically, by these keywords will be ignored for that. I mean, it's all explained here, but I'm just quickly going through. And then uncategorized transactions, these are the accounts that it's gonna pick for you, like uncategorized, ask my accountant, suspense, right? Then here is where you should be able to invite the team users. One important thing I would wanted to highlight is this one, the review finding. Okay. This is how like a default review findings are grouped like banking, accounts payable, account receivable, transactions review, and then the cleanup items, right? Now here, in case if you would like to add some more section, you can do that. In case if you would like to like calling banking review, you can rename the banking, I mean the section name. In case if you would like to drag and drop, meaning in case if you would like to move the review finding from one section to another, you should also be able to do that. Just you see this drag icon, just simply drag and drop on any of this section, and that will be kind of change, right? In case if you would like to call this review point differently, right? So you could also do that. Like it says stuck in undeployed funds, but you don't want to call it that way. You want to call it something else, you can also do that. Correct. So you can totally customize it, what you want to name those findings. In fact, these are those tooltips that would show up when your clients looks at it, right? Remember, I just showed you that how those little notes looks like on client's end. So in case if you would like to change that as well, you should be able to do that. Simply click on this tooltip, type in whatever you want, and that tooltip will then show up when your client looks at the report, right? So even this whole review finding section has got very, very customizable, right? So that's that. All right. And then we are actually also in process of adding some more configuration here. It's not done yet, but like, see, right now you can share the report, but we are also introducing the white label, which means that your clients will never able to find out it's Zenet Pulse. I mean, they would always, it would actually have your own branding, your own URL. So that's coming up very, very soon. So we are also introducing some of those changes as well. All right. So that's on the firm settings. Now I'll go back to the report again. I would like to show you something else. So we have just, I think it was just yesterday that we rolled out this business summary. Let me show you. It's not complete yet, but I would like to give you some idea what exactly we are doing here, right? Now, see, this health check report is fine. I mean, this talks about the bank reconciliation. This talks about all these different issues. But along with that, when you click on this business summary, we also want to give you some more information about the business, right? So I'll give you some idea. Okay, what is this business about? What is this industry, right? Where are they located to? Are they what is this fiscal year start? Is the books closed? Are they using multi-currency? Are they using class, location, inventory? All of those basic information about that business will show up here, right? Which means that you would not have to go to QuickBooks to figure out all of those things, right? Then banking overview. I mean, you already have that in diagnostic review, but the idea behind this business summary is this is purely your page. This is not client facing, right? This is to to give you more information about the business so that you can also quote better to your prospect. All right, so that's that. Transactions count. This is also quite useful. Now, like you know that the health score of the books, you know the issues are. You also want to find out how many transactions are there, what is the average per month. So we also have transactions count here as well, right? The business performance, right? So it's just a very high level glance, how much cash they have, how much liability they have, what is the profitability look like for last 3 years, what is the revenue looks like for last 3 years, what are those total five expenses that they have, right? So all of those information, I mean, we are still building this, but the idea behind this business summary was to actually give you more understanding about that business, so that in case if you would then like to quote accordingly or mention some more details, you would be able to do that. All right. All right. So this is a quick overview of what we have been building, guys. Just wanted to quickly take a look at chat. I do have some questions also, I mean, from my end to kind of understand from you guys, but I actually wanted to see the chat real quick. Just wanted to see if there are any questions that you guys want me to answer before I ask my questions. Nick, if there are any specific questions that you already know, then just let me know. I can just answer it right now.
So are the questions are more around, how this product is this a part of Zenet, or this is a separate standalone product,
Oh, okay.
and there are
Got
questions
it.
around the Zero as well, and the pricing. How
Perfect.
what would be the pricing model?
Oh yeah, so I mean, Zero is also on the roadmap. It's just that we wanted to at least get started with QuickBooks. So here is where we are. But yes, Zero is certainly is on our roadmap. About the pricing, guys, to be honest, we haven't decided it yet. We are still in the discussion. But just to let you know that, see, the diagnostic report itself is not like a recurring thing, right? I mean, you get a prospect, you prepare it, and it's done, correct? So the pricing is not going to be the like monthly recurring like Zenit, where you are using that client for Zenit every month. It's going to be some X dollar for each prospect, but that's how it's going to be the pricing, right? Now, for Zenit customers, and then for early signups, we will certainly be rolling out some special pricing for sure. But I mean, right? I mean, we will announce it very, very soon. Okay, so that's that. Uh, Now about um, Zenit, right? It's a standalone app right now, meaning that you guys will have to create a separate account, separate sign up. It's independent of Zenit, but our goal is also to not have you create or manage two different accounts. Eventually, we will have a way where you guys would be able to directly sign in with your existing Zenit account, right? The reason why we wanted to create this as a standalone app to start with is because there might be a lot of other people who are not Zenit customers but still wanted to use this diagnostic report. That is why we have a separate sign up. But for Zenit customers, we will have this ability where you guys would be able to sign in through Zenit directly. All right. So now I actually, since now you have just seen this Zenit Pulse, I wanted to get some idea. So I'm just gonna quickly launch a poll. So if you guys please give me your feedback, that would really help us know where we are. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly launch the poll. Give me a second. All right. So I'm gonna close the poll now. Thank you very much who have participated. I really appreciate your response. All right, perfect. So just wanted to summarize, guys. See, until now, you guys might be doing some sort of reporting, some sort of diagnostic report on your end, or maybe just doing informally over the email. But the reason why this is going to be very, very helpful is because it's not subjective. Like at times we give some sort of quote to client, like, okay, this is going to cost you this much, and then it's a proving matter where there's constantly back and forth. You have to justify why this price is right, why this price is not right. I think by having this sort of reports with all the proof, I think your proposal is going to become formality, not hurdle, where you don't try to convince the prospect, right? And our goal is to give you as much clarity in simplest way so that your prospect can understand better, because we understand that your prospects are not accountants, so we try to put the facts in simplest way, correct? So all we are trying to do is we want to make your life easy so that you don't end up spending a lot of time chasing your prospect, convincing them. Basically, you can win them at the price that you desire, right? That's our larger goal. Okay. Now, um, one of the thing, guys, we also wanted to understand because what happens is like, see, diagnostic is one thing. What we also want to help you with is come up with some sort of fee estimator. I'm pretty sure that you guys would have your own ways of figuring out how much you want to quote, right? We also want to simplify that process as well, right? So for that, I have some questions, and for that, I'm just gonna quickly create some polls. It's gonna be three polls, but trust me, guys, it's very, very important because that would decide like our next roadmap, right? I just wanted to understand how are you, let's just say whenever you have a prospect and if you are actually figuring out the price for those prospect, what are those parameters that you generally consider, right? We are actually building some next steps around it, and that is why we want to understand this. So I'm going to quickly create a poll just to understand what exactly matters when you calculate the quote. So if you can again please take a second to quickly respond that. All right, we're just gonna quickly close this in next 7 seconds. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna close the chat, close the poll. I'm gonna then quickly launch a new poll because now I wanted to like once you figured out your pricing, I wanted to also understand like how are you guys creating the proposal right now. I mean, so I'm gonna quickly launch the poll for that. So just wanted to understand like once you figured out the pricing, are you using any of this software to create the proposal? What does that look like? All right, I'm gonna close this poll in next 7 seconds. All right, I see a lot of new names. Good to know. All right, let me just close this poll. And then the last poll again related to this is like once you have sent the proposal, how are you guys actually receive the payment? Are you using the same proposal app to receive the payments from your client? Or are you guys receiving the payments into your native software? All right, again, so we're gonna wait for a few seconds. This is last poll, guys, so I'm not gonna bore you with any other questions. So, all right, just gonna wait for again 5 more seconds and then we'll close it. Perfect. So I'm just gonna close the poll now. All right, guys. Thank you very much for taking time and providing us these answers because what we will build next is very much dependent on what you've answered because we also want to understand um, what exactly you guys are doing right now and trying to help you accordingly. All right. So just I see some uh, questions. Please replace. Okay, I see some question anticipated hours. Okay, I am actually just reading the questions in the chat that I just got. 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna open up here. Thank you very much, Erin, for some great comments. Anticipated hours of client also use the following for proposal. Anticipated hours for clients meeting for a month. Okay, do you get? Would love to also work with you, Erin, if you're interested, because as I told you, it just like we've got started. We have already started getting a lot of suggestions, and we have been implementing it also very quickly. So yeah, would love to understand what you guys are do, and we'll try to automate as much as possible.
Also,
Any
anybody wants to unmute or, ask any question or
Yeah, I'm actually
share
gonna
any feedback.
Yeah, I love to enable it. So I have just enabled the mic for everyone. So just in case, guys, I mean, feel free to unmute yourself, ask questions, share feedback, whatever. So like you should be able to unmute your mic now. Anyone? No questions?
Hey, Hardik. This is Kristen Gaines. I have a question regarding when you have a new client that obviously doesn't have a lot of data, you would obviously want to connect as many of their books to QuickBooks, or I'm sorry, as many of their accounts to QuickBooks as possible. But what would that diagnostic look like and what would it pull out? Because nothing's reconciled. And how would we tell it, for instance, that they want to clean up or need a cleanup going back to this date? What could that potentially look like?
So I think so if the bank and credit cards are not reconciled, that means they're never reconciled.
Right.
I think Zenit may not know like from what date you would have to start, because I think it could be then figured out by talking to that prospect, like when is it like the recent year 2025. So I'm not sure what Zenit could actually help you there. All it can help you to get you the status so that you don't have to go at different places to find out what is happening. But I'm not sure in terms of recommendation that like whether you should do it from this year or that month. I think that would need to be sorted out by talking to prospect as to how far your prospect wants you to go back and fix things. Does that make sense?
It
Or
does. I think what I'm asking is, right, we've had that conversation. We know that now we've connected and brought in at least like all of their transactions.
Mhm.
Is there a place now that we could go in to the report and say, this cleanup needs to be started on this date? What can you tell me about the transactions from this point forward? Um, so that we could use that or use something like this, use the system to do that. Because that's really all you'd have. You'd either have like, you wouldn't have anything in the books in terms of prior categorization or anything, but you'd at least have transactions in the bank feed. Um, and then maybe if that could be built in, some way of telling the report or adding to the report that a cleanup needs to be, here's the services um, that we're discussing with the client. Could we?
Okay. So right now, I mean, all we are displaying is just the facts as is from QuickBooks to this report. However, I mean, we could certainly introduce some sort of also like a custom um, instructions or pages where, in case if you would like to add something, you could do that. But just wanted to confirm the understanding, Christine, like this is eventually you would be creating this report, sharing with your prospect, like, okay, this is what it looks like, this is what the plan is. And then once your prospect agrees to whatever you proposed, the actual work will then begin in Zenit itself, where you can connect your QuickBooks file, you can edit the transactions, you can fix things and things like that, right? This is like a pre-engagement report that it would help you to generate. I just want to make sure we are on the same page. So
Yes, yes. And that's what I was trying to understand, like how we could use this for a client who doesn't have, we'll be setting up their QuickBooks, or
yeah,
maybe we preliminarily have,
yeah,
but all we brought in is their bank fee transactions. There's no prior, transaction history in terms
yeah,
of categorization. So
yeah,
just trying to get an idea of how we could
yeah,
use that for a client in that situation.
yeah. So
Um,
got it. So yeah, so this will like the purpose is to evaluate the books real quick, to share the findings with your prospect so that you can share the proposal, you can get the approval, and then once you get the approval for the actual work, I mean, you have Zenit where you can connect it, you can do whatever you want in terms of fixing things. That's how the use case looks like.
Got you. And then another question is around like third-party apps. Um, how do you like let's say they have Square attached. What and forgive me if I missed where that showed up at, but how are those things reviewed in the report? And then I guess once the pricing is determined, how would that complexity be considered here? We obviously have our own ways of doing that, but just trying to understand what this approach would be.
Yeah, so at this point, Christine, all it looks for is the data in QuickBooks and the most common things, right? I mean, there will be a lot of specific things that each business would have, whether it's like a Stripe or there may be some Shopify or Amazon kind of thing.
Mhm.
We are not touching base those specific things. The idea is to touch base on the most common things like accounts payable, account receivable, and
Okay,
then your fixed assets. That's where we are right now. But yes, eventually, as you guys start using this, as we get feedback, we will evolve this.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
And then we're happy to work with you as well, Christine. So if you're
Yes,
interested
would
at
love to.
yeah, okay, perfect, perfect. All right, guys. I know that we are 4 minutes away, but I just wanted to make sure that if you guys have any questions, feel free. So Lana, I mean, we will be sending out a separate email to all of you for you guys to create the sign up. We'll also share the details and video with the instructions as to how to get started. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Um, looks like we are good, but we're gonna give a minute time to everyone, and then we can wrap up. Oh, not Xerocon, Liz. But we will be attending the Scaling New Heights in June. I think it's 3 weeks away from now. So,
I think you can also talk about the beta, access to beta, and special pricing for the first 50 pounds.
yes, guys. So, what we have decided is that, I mean, for the first 50 firms who are willing to sign up and help us, we will give you guys obviously free 3 months. We'll also give you some special pricing that will be there for lifetime. Basically, you guys will have some more privileges than rest of the users. And then we will be able to work together, listen to your suggestions, and we together will build this product, right? So we'll send out an email how to get this access. So whoever is interested, do the sign up, and we'll be happy to work with you. All right. Looks like we're all good. So I really thank you guys for taking time joining this webinar. I hope you guys found this helpful. We'll shortly in touch with you to share the next steps, how you can sign up, how you can participate, and feel free. I mean, you guys have my email, so feel free to reach out in case if you guys have any suggestions. All right. Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon. Take care.